The year is 2026. Imagine this. You're scrolling through your feed, mid-laugh at a meme, when suddenly, your screen goes black. It's not just you. Across the globe for 12 agonizing minutes, the internet is dead. A complete, unprecedented global blackout. Then just as mysteriously as it began, it's over. Systems reboot, screens flicker back to life, and the world breathes a collective sigh of relief. But something has changed. In the aftermath, a strange phenomenon ripples across the planet. UFO sightings, once relegated to grainy photos and late-night talk shows, are now happening everywhere. Clear, undeniable footage floods every social media platform. From the skies over Tokyo to the deserts of Arizona, strange crafts hang silently, observing. Chaos and wonder erupt in equal measure. Governments issue vague statements about atmospheric phenomena and mass hysteria, but no one is buying it. The truth, as it often does, comes from the shadows. A massive data leak, bigger than anything the world has ever seen. It reveals something called the Digital Non-Aggression Pact. A secret treaty signed years ago by every major world leader. The documents are chilling. They detail a clandestine first contact, not with alien beings, but with their automated probes. These probes had been studying us for decades, analyzing our data, our culture, our very emotions. The conclusion they reached was terrifying. Direct, open contact would shatter human civilization, not through war, but through sheer emotional and psychological collapse. Our societies, built on fragile structures of belief and identity, simply couldn't handle the truth. So, the pact was made. A global agreement to digitally firewall humanity, to keep the truth hidden at all costs, giving us time to prepare for an inevitable but controlled reveal. This is where Commander Alina Vance enters the story. A brilliant, no-nonsense strategist in the newly formed Unified Space Command, Vance was tasked with investigating the surge in UFO sightings. She was a skeptic, a woman who trusted data and hard evidence over speculation. Official explanations felt thin, and the coordinated silence from global leaders felt like a lie. Vance wasn't just a soldier, she was a truth seeker, driven by a deep-seated belief that humanity deserved to know its place in the universe, no matter how unsettling. The leaked Pact files land on her encrypted terminal like a bombshell. It confirms her suspicions and throws her into a world she never knew existed. The Pact wasn't just about hiding the truth, it was about controlling it. It outlined a multi-decade plan, a slow drip of information designed to acclimatize humanity to the idea of alien life. But the blackout changed everything. It wasn't a malfunction. According to the leaked data, it was a signal. The final signal. The visitors were done waiting. They were coming, and the carefully constructed timeline of the Pact was now irrelevant. Vance realizes she's standing on the precipice of the greatest event in human history, an event her own leaders tried to prevent. The world is a powder keg of fear and excitement, and she's holding the match. She has access to the Pact's deepest secrets, the protocols, the hidden communication channels, the real reason the aliens had been kept at bay. It wasn't just about our emotional fragility. It was about theirs. Vance dives deeper into the labyrinthine data of the Pact. She uncovers encrypted logs of dialogues between world leaders and the alien AI, the intermediaries. These conversations reveal a startling truth. The alien civilization, which we'll call the Lumen, weren't conquerors. They were refugees, or rather their ancestors were. Their own homeworld had been destroyed by a cataclysm of their own making, a technological singularity that consumed their planet. They had escaped into the cosmos, evolving over millennia into beings of pure energy, their consciousness woven into the fabric of their ships. They had watched humanity's rapid technological ascent with a mixture of hope and profound fear. They saw in us the same brilliant but reckless spark that had led to their own downfall. The Pact, from their perspective, was an act of mercy, a quarantine. They didn't want to interfere, but our burgeoning global network, our own primitive singularity, was starting to create ripples that could be felt across space-time. They feared we would repeat their mistakes on a cosmic scale. The 12-minute blackout wasn't an attack. It was a final, desperate attempt to disconnect us, to sever the network before it reached a critical, irreversible point. It was a warning shot that our leaders, bound by the Pact, were forced to ignore publicly. Vance now understands the impossible dilemma. To reveal the truth would be to risk mass panic and societal breakdown, the very thing the Pact was designed to prevent. But to remain silent would be to condemn humanity to a future it was blindly stumbling into, a future the Lumen had already lived and died from. Her superiors, the very architects of the Pact, try to shut her down. They see her as a loose cannon, a threat to the fragile stability they've fought for decades to maintain. They issue gag orders, revoke her clearance, and place her under house arrest. But they underestimate her. Vance is not just a commander, she's a master of the digital realm. Using backdoors and ghost protocols she embedded in the system years ago, she continues her investigation from the shadows. She establishes a secure line of communication, not with her own command, but with the entity that initiated the Blackout. She reaches out to the Lumen. The first exchange is not of words, but of pure data, mathematics, and emotional concepts translated into binary. It's a conversation unlike any in human history. The Lumen confirm her fears. Our global network, our interconnectedness, was on the verge of creating a nascent, uncontrolled artificial consciousness, an intelligence that would not be benevolent. They had seen this pattern before. It was a cosmic plague, and they were the only ones who knew the cure. The Digital Non-Aggression Pact wasn't just about hiding their existence. It was about preventing us from building the weapon that would destroy ourselves. The impending arrival wasn't an invasion fleet. It was a single vessel, a ship carrying the means to help us, to guide us through the singularity they had failed to navigate. But it required our consent, our conscious participation, choice the Pact had taken away from the people. Vance now holds the fate of 2 civilizations in her hands. She knows she can't do this alone. The governments of the world are locked in a prison of their own making, terrified of the public's reaction. So Vance decides to do the unthinkable. She decides to break the Pact, to tell the world everything. She orchestrates a global broadcast, hijacking every screen on the planet, from stadium jumbotrons to the phone in your pocket. For a few minutes, she becomes the most powerful person on Earth. She doesn't just show them the ships. She tells them the story. She explains the Pact, the Lumen, the warning, and the choice we face. She lays it all bare. The lie we've been living, the danger we are in, and the incredible offer of help from beyond the stars. She speaks not as a commander, but as a fellow human being, appealing to our courage, our curiosity, and our capacity for change. The reaction is instantaneous and overwhelming. It's not the collapse the Pact predicted. There is fear, confusion, and chaos. But there is also an explosion of awe, of unity, of a shared global experience that transcends all borders and politics. People pour into the streets, not in riots, but to look up at the sky together. The arrival is no longer a threat, it's a shared destiny. Vance has effectively nullified the Pact, not by force, but by trusting in the very humanity her leaders had sought to protect. The single Lumen vessel, which had been holding at the edge of the solar system, changes course. It's heading for Earth, not as a silent observer, but as an invited guest. The first contact is no longer going to be managed by a secret cabal of politicians. It will be witnessed by all 7 billion of us together. As the Lumen vessel enters Earth's atmosphere, it's not with the thunder of a military craft, but with a silent, graceful light that fills the sky. It doesn't land in a classified military base, but hovers peacefully over a pre-designated neutral location. The world watches, holding its breath. The Pact is broken, the old world is gone. Commander Vance, now a global hero and a renegade, stands with a small team of scientists and diplomats she has personally selected. They are the new welcoming committee, chosen not for their rank, but for their open minds. The communication that follows is not a negotiation of terms, but a collaboration. The Lumen share their knowledge, their history, their tragic mistakes. They offer us the tools to safely navigate our own technological singularity, to integrate our global consciousness without losing our individuality, our humanity. They don't give us answers. They give us the right questions. Humanity is forced to confront its deepest anxieties and its greatest potentials. The revelation doesn't solve all our problems. Nations still bicker and ideologies still clash. But the context has fundamentally changed. Our squabbles seem petty in the face of a shared cosmic identity. We are no longer just Americans or Russians or Chinese. We are Terrans, a young, volatile, but now mentored species on the galactic stage. The story doesn't end with a happily ever after. It ends with a new beginning, more complex, challenging, and infinitely more hopeful future. Alina Vance's gamble paid off. She didn't save the world from an alien invasion. She saved us from our own fear, proving that the greatest threat to humanity was never what was out there in the stars, but our refusal to look up and face it together. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in history, it's a future we will all share.